Running Sentences presents The Train Headed Nowhere. Part 9. To Stay on Track. The threat of the bomb shakes things up for everyone, but for Drex, he isn't sure he completely buys into this idea or any ideas that Domina is throwing forward. This story is written and narrated by Michael Honnery. It is a work of fiction, so any names, characters, businesses, events, and situations within this story are products of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to real people, situations, characters, businesses, events, and/or fictional businesses, characters, events, and so on is purely coincidental. Copyright 2024, Michael Honnery, all rights reserved. A quiet had fallen over the buffet train car at Domina's last words. Plenty of poor people and doctors aboard this train. Where? Drex hadn't come across any of them unless they were including the workers, and since he wasn't sure they were being paid well enough for this job, he certainly wasn't. Another drastic lie to make me feel sympathy. I've had that bled out of me a long time ago. Why was it bled out of you? Why do you think, Drex? It isn't hard to put together a theory on it at all, but let me tell you, it has to do with certain training camps I got put into. None of that has anything to do with this train, its workers, or its occupants. We want people to survive and live on, Domina announced. Then why call this the train to nowhere? Because we didn't want people to plan for ways to try and stop it. This is the last train for those who had a chance at it. Is it now, Miss Domina? And what about those workers that get sucked off the train, and those that come aboard? What about them? Are they going to get a chance to survive? Carl demanded to know. I will say that I do not know about them. They will be well taken care of, and I believe brought to the border or something, or will be away from whatever revolution you and your group is planning. A pan thrown by Carl catches Domina by surprise as it smacks into her head, dazing her for a second. With that, Carl tries to make a break for it by jumping over the counter of the buffet. Drex was right there, and does his best to grab at Carl's arm as he moves past. You need to stop, Drex said. No, you need to stop being a dog for an empire that doesn't know you exist. I am not being a dog for them. Then why are you stopping me? Because you're trying to kill a bunch of people? I thought that bit would at least be obvious. I told you that no one here is innocent, including ourselves. The train deserves to die, and all aboard it need to go with it. All to teach a lesson to the maniacs running this country. Carl tries to jerk his arm away, but it doesn't work, and so he throws a punch towards Drex, which misses wildly. I can't let you kill people. Oh, yes, you can. What are you going to do about it to stop me? I will stop a bomb, or whatever it takes at this point. Then you're no better than anyone else in this mess. Ha! See, I'm right. I never said I was or thought so that it doesn't matter much about being better than anyone else. You can't use that against me. Even more cold-blooded than I thought. You should have joined us. Pity I never saw your potential. Drex felt like the comment is some sort of underhanded compliment in some fashion. He, however, is too tired to figure it out, and running on the last dregs of energy didn't feel worth it. It might be far easier just to punch Carl for his efforts, but he didn't want to go down that route just yet either. We would rather save the world and those in it than let the revolution take over. You would rather watch it burn and be destroyed instead of fixing the problems. Domina interrupted, having recovered a little bit. Oh, what lies you tell yourselves to feel good about what you're doing and what it is you're up to. They aren't true, by the way, and will only lead to your downfall. Look, I don't care about that, Carl. I don't care that things make you feel superior since we're bad or whatever. I want to stop a bomb, and you want to set it off. Tell us where it is. Why would I? To that, Drex actually had to pause for a moment, since he didn't really have a good excuse for why. And then something came to him. Well, you could watch it blow up in our faces, since I don't think either of us know how to defuse one. Yeah, that would be funny, but I don't want to tell you anything. Having had enough of this, Drex balls up his right fist and throws it towards Carl's face. It connects right at the jaw, sending his boss, or former boss, or whatever he was, tumbling backwards and then falling onto his ass. I'll guess cargo, since they're rebels and it's the only place where they can hide things without being seen. Why are you so sure about this when you were just asking it about it, Drex? Domina stands beside him as they look over Carl, who holds his jaw in pain. Always give him a chance to tell the truth. Anyway, it seemed like the simplest solution and easiest to go for them. And as for why I believe it's there, it seems like the simplest solution and easiest for them to get to without raising suspicion. You mean without prying eyes? Yeah, that too. Pretty much what I meant. Anyway, where would the back cargo space be? End of the train? Yes, unfortunately, she said. And we don't have much time, probably. Are you going to take care of this one while I go chase this thing down? She pauses for a moment to look between the two men, and gives a long sigh. Well, just stay here. I'll deal with this and get blown up in the process. He too wanted to sigh, but merely turns and then books it out of the train car. A variety of different cars pass by in a blur for Drex in his rush and hopes of finding the storage ones. He counted at least 15 different ones before giving up and hoping that the storage section was coming up soon. This went on until he stumbled and came to a stop at one that had a narrow hallway and boxes upon trunks upon other stuff piled high almost to the ceiling. No one else appeared to be around as he looked at the place. Any workers around here? He called out to be safe. Help! It was a faint sound. That was a female sort of voice. At least that's what Drex assumes it is, and feels a dreaded sigh coming on. He doesn't have much time to play search and rescue when a bigger rescue needed to happen. Where are you? Over here. Well, that is not helpful unless you give me more information than that. I can't actually come help you. There was some sort of noise to his right, a shifting of boxes or something along with a few grunts. Drex took a few steps forward towards it to see if there was perhaps a little hallway between all of these boxes and found a sort of space where he could see a set of legs sticking up into the air. What happened to you? A box fell and then another one, and I got trapped under it all. You wouldn't happen to have seen a box or trunk or something that looks weird, would you? Drex found himself asking. This is a storage area. Every box and item in here is packed weirdly. Why is everything packed weirdly? There was no response at first, as this woman shifts about, trying to free herself from the stuff on top of her. There was no real success, and another box looks about ready to drop onto her from the piles that surrounded her. That's the way things are here. Okay, are any of them ticking or look to have a lot of, say, wires coming out of them? There's a bit more shuffling and something moved out of the way to reveal a blonde-haired, though frazzled, woman. What does that have to do with anything? I'm looking for such a device, since it could be dangerous. Why would you be looking for it, then? To stop it from doing untold things to those aboard the train? realizing that standing about and having this conversation was not really helping her, and merely slowing down his own surge that she might be able to help with. In the end, he starts pulling off boxes. They aren't terribly heavy ones, but enough to cause a few strains here and there. Eventually, she rises up and sorts herself out. What is this all about? A device that could harm the train has been stored, likely, in the storage area back here. I'm hoping it is here, and hasn't been moved by those who wanted to cause harm. That sounds terrible. Why would anyone do that? It wasn't a response that Drex found himself hoping for. No, this sounds like she was merely saying things to pass the time, without helping him. A worry that he's now trusting the wrong person came to him. To destroy the train. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. No, I don't think I've seen anything like that. You're sure? Pretty sure, yeah. Okay, then you should get out of here unless you really want to blow up. Her eyes went wide as he turns to look at the nearby boxes of whatever they were. Nothing about any of these trunks, suitcases, and/or boxes stood out to him. They all looked plain as day, which was not helpful. How was he going to find anything if they all looked sort of similarly beige? There is a bomb-like device aboard the train? Yes. Is there anyone who comes back here regularly to check over objects? And are you just assigned to this car, or do you look over them all? No, I look over 3 storage cars. Great or not so great. There is a bomb reportedly aboard, and it's going to go off, reportedly soon. No idea when, just that it will. So, get out of the way, and to safety, or you can help me. But I doubt you want to help me, so get to safety. What? There was no time to explain further, and he didn't feel like this was going to get him anywhere. He'd helped, she'd apparently couldn't help, and that was that. Get out of here for your own safety. Drex steps back and looks at the other collection of junk in this room. There was nothing about it that stood out, which meant there was little chance of actually solving this and finding what he needed to find. With a gulp, he stepped forward towards the next little section, with the hopes that he might spot some little thing to set off his intuition. Why would someone put a bomb on the train? This lady asked. To destroy it, thinking it would show the government that the rebellion means business, or so everyone thinks, that it will remotely affect the government of some sort. Why? He blinks, looks back at her for a moment, then around at the cargo that had been packed away. Great question. No answer, and I doubt anyone will ever give you one. A good one, at least. They might give you a poor one. Now, if you don't mind, I have work to do, and I really think you should get out of here. I cannot abandon my work. If you want to live, then I recommend that you do it and explain it to your bosses later. Say that Drex gave you the okay to leave. That won't be enough. He had already moved a bit forward to look at some boxes, having had enough of this conversation. It isn't going anywhere, and she isn't listening to him. If that's how she wanted it to be, then that's the way she can have it. Stay or leave at your own discretion, but do not get in my way. Am I in your way? I'm behind you right now, but I don't think I'm in your way. Yes, you are, by speaking and not helping me to save the train and the people aboard. As if the people aboard deserve some sort of chance. That made Drex pause for a moment, as he feels himself running cold at the comment and the mere thought of it. How could someone not at least deserve some sort of chance? Why do you say that? Drex asked out of morbid curiosity. Well, they never treat me well, always ordering me to get this and that for them, never tipping and generally running me over to get whatever it is they want, without asking. That is not nice. Okay, no doubt, but that as a reason to let people get killed? That makes you sound awful. She hits him with a soft sort of punch that grazes off his back right shoulder. He felt it, but he didn't think much of it since there were better things to be doing in dealing with this instance. My reasons are my reasons. Congratulations, then. They don't matter one iota if this train goes up and we all get killed, and you get killed with it. That finally made her pause for a moment, jaw moving a few times up and down as he glances over to see how she's taking this sort of news when she didn't respond. Get out of here, go save yourself, he offered. What about you? I'm merely a cog to keep the train running. I was an engineer and now I'm here because I kept asking questions. I don't think I matter that much. I didn't ask about that and I don't care about that. Why aren't you running away? Someone stupid has to put their neck out there, so why not me? No one else cares enough to try and save this damn thing. Well, I'm here, aren't I? She is, but Drex isn't sure that is a trustworthy fact. There could be any number of reasons for a person to stick around. There was no time to figure out, though, what she was going for, so he ignored her as he headed down the corridor of luggage, carefully stacked up. Though through the movement of the train, they weren't so well placed now and all looked like they occasionally wanted to fall over. You're sticking around, but you didn't answer my question. Which one? Does anyone come here regularly to take something or check on something or over it, like a blonde man with a scar on his face, one that you can only see up close? There was no comment from her as he keeps moving, looking, trying to decipher what he can. Little to nothing, and probably even less than that, actually. The quiet, though, was a welcome change, allowing him to listen for any strange noises, perhaps a ticking or something to give away what was going on. There are a couple of rude guys who come through. They are regularly slick-looking individuals in nice suits. Do they look like officials from the train? I think one of them said something about being a boss. The other one flashed a badge-like thing at me, but it was out of sight before I could really process it. Oh, great. They were probably our boss and a GTX agent, and maybe they're up to something back here, but who knows at this point. You don't work for them? Corey is the boss of the train, so yes, I work for them. That agent, though? No, that's a no. A shudder rocks the train, moving it back and forth on the tracks. Drex grabs a hold of a nearby suitcase, trying to steady himself, but it doesn't move much good as it slides loose back and forth. These tracks are getting worse and worse, I swear, Flora said. For a moment, that made him feel a little more comfortable, but it also meant they were getting closer to their goal. And, unfortunately, it also meant that the attack was much, much more likely now. Good things always came with bad things, and here was going to be no different. Those two who came in here and saw you and talked to you and treated you so poorly, where exactly did they go? To the next car and fiddled with something in there, in a box. You're entirely sure of this? I followed them and retrieved what they wanted from it. They took you with them? Well, yes and no. I would retrieve the box, but it always moves about. Not exactly helpful, but it got him somewhere and maybe removed them from the list of people playing both sides. Not a great thing to go off, but when he had nothing. The next train storage unit was a dark one, literally. The light switch on it didn't turn on the lights, and all they had was the moonlight coming through the small windows near the top of the walls to the ceilings of this place. Do you have a light of some sort? And does this type of thing typically happen in these spaces? Well, it can happen. The fuses don't last long, and the lights generally do go out. Her flashlight clicks on and casts its light about the space. One that looks much like the previous car, but things put in a slightly different order. So where exactly would they go to and then shoo you away from? Over here. She leads him down a little corridor to a place before coming to a stop at a small section that has a placard posted on it. Do not touch, written in a variety of languages in this carved-out space of boxes and suitcases and trunks. Beyond it lie a few of such things, and some stuff that had been torn open, but whatever was in that box that had been torn open was now long gone. You're sure you never saw them really do anything? Positive? She said to Drex's question. He steps forward, pushing the sign out of the way, and listens to it as it falls to the ground with a clank. What little light the flashlight provided isn't enough to get a good picture, though. Do you have another one of those? Yeah, here. A metal tube meets his hand, and he grasps at it, turning it on. Now with more light, he finds the usual. Boxes, suitcases, and trunks, plus the litter of stuff that had been torn open. He leans down and pokes at this to see if they might give up some details. One that he spots is the address to a Corey Blanderstone. The contents might have been a book or some other object shaped like that. He rises and looks further around to see if he can spot any further boxes addressed to that man. It only takes a minute to find one. Let's see what is in here, Drex said, mostly to himself. Do you have the right to do it? In order to stuff a bomb? Yeah, I think I have rights. Don't worry, if you need someone to blame for all of this, just blame me, he said with a wave of his hand dismissing the thought. The box-like object slid easily enough from its spot. No problem from the other cases around it. The odd stacks that the one above overlaps with the others it held up. The tape on the box itself was coming apart, making the lid pop open once it was released from its cubby-like space. So what do we have here? Nothing good, probably, and I don't feel right about this. Noted and ignored. Is this a book? He does pull out a book-like thing, which feels barely bound together in his hands. It didn't appear to be old, but the way the leather felt in his hands, it certainly came across that way, as it was crumbling, sort of. Once free, he pops it open carefully to look at the title page. A list of dangers to the train. That sounds terrible, she said, peering over her shoulder. Yes, and not the least bit useful to me at the moment. He drops the book back into the box and paws about a bit more to see if there was anything else. Nothing else shows up that might be of interest, so he closes the thing and puts it back where it belongs. Where would I hide a bomb if I didn't have to move it? Probably the first storage car to wreck things. Didn't look like that would happen, though. He stood and listens for other noises, hopeful for a strange click or tick of time going by. It is quiet, nice and quiet, making him uncomfortable with how things stand there, doing nothing. Then he glances to her right. It is faint, but there is a sort of noise in that direction. He stumbles backward, and then out of the way to this little section to head towards it. What's going on? Probably nothing. Noises sound weird, maybe. What noises? His feet carry him a bit further, and then he stops to listen. It is still there, and he's sure he's imagining it, but he can't exactly ignore it either. It sounds like a clock. Tick-tock. Well, I don't hear anything, Flora declared. He continues his effort of ignoring her, since listening to her is getting him nowhere fast. There's a noise, and that was all that matters at the moment. Please don't ignore me, she said, trying to get his attention. You can save yourself by leaving and not worrying about such things. I'm not ignoring you, by the way. My mind is concentrating on a small noise and the small hope that it is something that I can stop. Otherwise... He moves to keep the sound of ticking close to him, though it's straining his ears to pick it out. The thoughts going through his mind, questioning why she's asking about the otherwise part. It's a simple answer, really. Boom, the train goes up, or something like that. His thoughts told him. Best to leave that unsaid, though, and concentrate on what he could worry about. If this wasn't the device he was looking for, then what was he going to do? There's a great chance that this might amount to finding nothing. You're ignoring me again? Yes, to try and find this thing to help save the day, if it is what I think it is, or at least hope it is. How can you hope for a bomb-like thing? Simple, because if I don't, then I don't know what to do next. You have a plan for the bomb? She asked. He did not, in fact, have a plan for the bomb, but an idea for dealing with it, potentially. Nope. Right now, Drex is flying by the seat of his pants, and he's A-okay with this, since it's better than thinking. The sound that drew him about the cabin now drew him back towards the door that they'd come in. His eyes land on a box next to the door that looks rather loose. And things in his mind began to click together. You said your name was Flora, right? Or you said something. Yes, it's on your name tag. Right. Those boxes, the little things by the door. What do they do? Oh, a combination of a fire management activator, that thing. And I think it also holds the fuses for other things. From what I can see, it looks like it's been tampered with. She points her flashlight also towards the poorly painted red box that looks slightly askew and not put back properly. Drex's thoughts had mostly been centered around how would an explosive back here in cargo wreck the lives of anyone up front. But if they messed with all of the boxes of the fire management system, or some that were near them in each car, putting explosives in it? Yeah, that, Drex said. Well, it would make for a small bomb, Flora responds. I don't think that's the complete bomb. It's one part that merely goes off, and as a result, the next bomb in the next car goes off in a sort of sympathetic reaction. What now? One bomb goes off, and it's enough to set off another explosive, even though they may not have a timer. We don't hear any clicks or ticks or talks or anything like that, because it doesn't need it. It just goes off when it gets hot and explodes. The clicking noise now stood next to him as he walked over to this little red box and gently prized away the cover. There was quite a stack of grey-looking clay packed all around what should be something, and he wasn't entirely sure what should be there, but that stuff clearly probably wasn't belonging there. That definitely looks wrong. Yes, it does, and hopefully we can do something about that. He turns on his heel towards the loud clicking noise coming from the loose leather bag. That's not that far away. It is sitting there minding its own business, just a little bit out of the way, where it would be ignored. Drex moves over and grabs it, and pulls it towards him with the click-clack tick-tock of the device, making it at least obvious that some sort of timepiece was inside. Here we have the thing that would at least wreck this part of the train. With that now open before him, the classic sticks of dynamite and a clock sat before him, nestled neatly into the bag. It's what he wanted, and now he had it. His mind couldn't really come to a clear conclusion on that as he looked to the clock on the device. It didn't appear to be counting down, but that didn't mean it wasn't doing that. We've got time to get rid of that thing? Flora asked. Yes, maybe not. He wasn't sure that was true, but it sounded nice to say. That, and he was beginning to suspect that this Flora wasn't about to just let him throw it off of the train. No, she probably would be one of the revolutionaries and make things complicated. That will save the day. Getting rid of the bomb? Yes. Until their next plan, which I don't think they have time for. We're about to be at the border of the country, which should only create more problems for all the other people. The train is headed for the border? He snaps the leather bag closed and looks to her with a smile and nod yes, then takes a few steps towards the door. If you'll excuse me? Yes, as nicely as he could. Why should I do that? That is $1 million question. He looks over his shoulder towards her to see nothing about her had changed yet, which was probably good. She simply stands there looking at him, waiting for his move. Do you have a problem with me getting rid of a bomb? No. Then why do you ask that question? It is always good to question one's motive. He arches his eyebrow at that thought. There might be a time and place for such things, but when a bomb is in his hands and it could go off any second, it's enough of a reminder to him that he should be moving. A small step by him towards the door drew no reaction from her. Questioned and noted. I'll get rid of this now. Are you sure? Yes, Flora. Are you trying to stop me? She smiles and says nothing, so he takes another step to see if what will change. Nothing happens, so another step is taken as they eye one another. You don't trust me. You're questioning things, and when that happens, generally that means something else will happen, like you trying to stop me. Usually it's bad and comes down on my head and it ends poorly. Bad things will happen reportedly if you don't move, though. Yes, my conundrum. What you gonna do about it, then? He bolts for the door, not liking this anymore, and made it to it safely. The door pulls open easily enough, and the wind comes howling in. I'm going to dispose of this. That's A-okay, no need to tell me. The way she says that, though, makes him feel like he can't, in fact, trust her and that it was probably not A-okay. The roar of wind greets Drex as he steps out onto the open passageway connecting the two storage cars. There's a good 5 feet to the next car, and no one else is around, as he steps out and looks past the fast-passing ravine and rocky mountains they're traveling. He held out the bag in his hand, hanging over the railing on the little walkway connection between the cars. Are you going to do it or not? Drex looks to Flora, who had followed him but stood in the doorway. The problem in his mind that he was having was trouble accepting the ease of all of this. When things came up too easy, then other issues were about to rise up and smack him for failing to notice it. I was waiting for you to try something. So you really don't trust me, then? You seem like the perfect person to be a rebel who wants to end this train. And what if I am? That's the problem I'm having. I can't figure out if you are or are not. She smiled, and he dropped the bag, letting it sail away down some rocky outcrop. It dipped from view, but then was followed by a heavy boom that rattled things and sent rocks tumbling all around. The end of the train wasn't in sight, which worried Drex as the slopes around them began to shift, threatening to turn into a landslide. I am a rebel, by the way, Flora announced. I had a suspicion, but why didn't you stop me? Do you have other bombs aboard the train? The group may, but my reasonings are rather on the simpler side of things. I do not agree with their ways of thinking and going about getting a revolution started. You don't want to kill a train filled with mostly innocent people? Well, they're not all innocent. But killing people is only going to inflame the situation and lead to more bloodshed, in my opinion. It might lead to what we want, or it might lead to a stalemate, or it might lead to us being wiped out. It's never a pretty way of getting things done, she said. You want to guarantee that it will go your way, then? It's much better for everyone if we have firm answers before we act. You can't always have that, though. In fact, you rarely get that sort of thing. Shouldn't you be agreeing with me and not trying to convince me that my other compatriots are right, Mr. Drex? He opens his mouth to protest, but realizes that what she is saying is true. He pauses for a moment more as it closes to let him think. It's always good to know your options and question them. It's a weak offering, and he knows it, but all he can do is shrug and grin. Maybe she'll be nice and forget all about it. So, what are you about to do to me now that I'm probably at your mercy? You think I'm going to do something? I've no idea. It's better to know if you are or aren't going to act now that your group's plans have been at least somewhat foiled. She merely grins, reaches into her pocket, and pulls out a little pistol to point at him. You're right, I can't exactly let you go. Come on, we have a couple of people you need to meet. Am I going to like them? Maybe. Only one way to find out, though, and that means we have to go to the last car on the train, the caboose. We go. She steps out of the way of the door to let him in. End of part 9 of The Train Headed Nowhere. Thank you for listening.